Hi everyone, I'm Nicole Turnbull, CEO of the Psychosocial Safety and Leadership Institute, and I'm really excited to be chatting with Belinda and Natalie from Illume Partners today. Now, we're going to have a chat about who they are, what Illume Partners offer, why this work matters, and how you can connect with them if you'd like to learn more. Ladies, thank you so much for being part of the collective and welcome.
Thanks, Nicole.
Hi, Nicole. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, for people who might not have met you before, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves and your background?
Oh,
Sure.
Who wants to
no,
start?
you can go,
I can
Natalie.
start. I'm a psychologist. I've worked within consulting for around 25 years now, which is
Mhm.
scary to say, really. I have a private practice based in Brisbane, and I do a lot of trauma work. I do a lot of WorkCover work. And
Yeah.
I also am a co-founder of Illume Partners with Belinda,
Mhm.
which we started around 2 years ago with a focus on psychosocial and psychological safety, leadership development, and team development.
Love that. Thank you. Belinda.
Yeah, so I've got about 25 years experience working with leaders.
Mhm.
I have a master's in organisational psychology and really focused on sort of career development, leadership development. And with that, incredibly important when we look at developing people's careers that we're creating these environments where they feel safe.
Yeah.
And so, naturally, as the terminologies have developed over the last sort of decade or so, we've been bringing that into the sort of leadership development work that we do,
Mhm.
and understanding how important this is to have a well workforce, and to be able to get the best out of everybody.
Yeah, I can see why you partnered, and I can also already see the incredible value you're going to bring to the collective and to the community and, to wider in the work you're doing. I'm very excited that you're here. Can you share with us a little bit about what Illume Partners offers and what you do there?
Yeah, sure. You'll see behind me we've got a Safe to Thrive banner. And essentially, one of our flagstone sort of programs is the Safe to Thrive program. It's a 12-month program
Yeah.
where we partner with organisations and we really take them through measuring psychosocial and psychological safety. We've come up with the measurement tool. It's based on the COPSOC. It's based on Amy Edmondson's work on psychological safety. When you talk about partnering with someone, Belinda and I have very complementary skills.
Yeah.
Belinda can make a dashboard out of measurement like no one else I've ever
Yeah.
seen. So we really take the measurement tool very seriously and create
Mhm.
dashboards that really start to help an organisation understand what's really going on in their workforce and task, and really bring some of those different elements to light that we then use that specific information to tailor the program. So
Mhm.
essentially, the program then has 6 workshops built in. Now,
Yeah.
that's all about educating. So we've done the measurement, we've highlighted some of the areas that we want to focus on. And, we use then that to drive and to create the development workshops, a couple of in the social. So we
Mhm.
actually then take the legislation, we help businesses understand what it looks like for them,
Yeah.
what they can do with it, how do they manage it, almost like a leadership playbook.
Mm.
So they
Yeah.
really start to understand this is how it shows up, not just in individuals, but how does it show up in teams, in organizations? So we start to then have a look at that systems approach as well. So
Yeah.
it's through that education and development that our leaders can then be really confident and comfortable with what they see and
Mm.
what they can do with it. So we also build in a lot of well-being sort of information as well.
Yeah.
We then look at developing the platform around how do I lead my team in a psychological safe manner. So
Mm.
really bringing in a lot of that Amy Edmondson's work. What
Mhm.
we found when we put this program together is that a lot of organisations were offering one or the other, but
Yes.
they weren't necessarily bringing the two together.
Mm.
And it's very much our understanding, and that you cannot mitigate and manage psychological or psychosocial without actually leading from a psychological safe perspective.
Mm.
So this is where we bring them both in. So there's lots of workshops. We then support the leaders by doing coaching forums.
Mm-hmm.
So, going into a workshop, understanding what the new learnings, but then being able to go back into the workplace and really own it and make
Yeah.
it theirs.
Yeah.
Belinda and I met around 7 years ago
Mm-hmm.
at a consulting firm, a large one here in Brisbane, and we've been doing a lot of leadership programs, particularly in the government sector. So we
Yep.
really understand each other's style and how we co-facilitate those workshops because we are quite different.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that we've always aligned on is authentic leadership is taking all these models, taking this information and making it your own. So
Yeah.
you can consciously turn up every day in a consistent way and message it. And I think that's the trick. How do you take all this stuff you're being
Mm.
taught but actually really own it? And
Yeah.
so it becomes consistently who you are as a leader. So
Yes.
the program really is underpinned by a lot of online coaching forums where they can come to us and say, right, this is what I learned, this is what I tried, this was what was great, and this is what didn't work. So
Yeah.
how do I do that again in a different way and get a different result? And we find that what the clients we do that with, it's really valuable,
Mm.
because we're learning from each other. We're also learning, that, hey, everyone gets it wrong. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Just now know how not to do it next time.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
simple as it is,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
let's get up, dust ourselves off, and keep going again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's our flagship program, which we're loving, and we've got it rolling out now, piloting in education. But it can really be tailored to all organisations and all industries.
Yeah.
If a 12 months is too much for some people, we can work with them to bring it
Mm-hmm.
back to what their time permits. If they haven't got the 12 months, they might want it in 6 months. I think having both of us having a consulting background, we're very able to pivot and quite agile and flexible in what we can produce, because that's just what we've been doing for 25 years. But I'll hand it over to Belinda and see what she wants to add to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Natalie gave a really good rundown on that particular program, which is the one that's really focused around the psychosocial
Mm-hmm.
space. And I think, a big part of the reason why we did create it to be at, a 12-month program or thereabouts, depending on the organization's, flexibility there. But a big belief that this is not something you can just walk in and flick a switch. You can't just attend
Yeah.
as leaders a 1-day workshop or a 2-day workshop and then walk away and expect that your workplace is suddenly going to change and that
Mm-hmm.
everyone else knows.
Yeah.
And so we really want to be there to sort of like partner and hold the hand,
Mm-hmm.
on a journey,
Yeah.
where they're, staggering that kind of that learning and really
Mm.
focusing on a couple of key areas at a time because, as you would know, Nicole, and as most of us in this space would know, if you're trying to fix everything, you fix nothing. But if
Yeah.
you really, you focus in on a couple of core things, you prioritize those, you
Yeah.
put a big investment, time, focus, investment,
Yeah.
we're talking about here,
Yeah.
into those areas, you're much more likely to have, some change, positive change happening there. So the sort of coaching forums that Natalie referred to there, that's us taking a cohort of leaders within one organization,
Yeah.
is just working with that one organization at a time. So
Yeah.
it's really, talking about what is happening in their space and their environment
Mm-hmm.
and also continuing to create this forum for them where they're used to talking about this together.
Yeah.
Right, but in a supported way where they've got some expertise of us in the room, so to speak,
Yeah.
with them as they're going through that and giving them some guidance, also keeping them accountable, kind of
Mm.
to moving
Yeah.
actions.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what we do find is that organizations often get, a bit of inspiration, a bit of, like, yes, let's get in and focus on this. And then it dwindles away and
Yeah.
the change doesn't get seen through.
Yeah.
So by an organization kind of committing to that longer term time frame and us committing as well to that
Yeah.
longer time frame with them, we
Yeah.
expect to see those changes much more embedded in the organization over that time.
Mm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And firstly, we need to chat more after this. Secondly, the safety regulators want to see that plan, right?
Yeah,
Like you can't have well, here's our high priority, we've fixed it and we're moving on. It is that
yes,
development of the 12-month plan. And really it's more than 12 months. And it doesn't have to be, you know, it is a partnership to be able
no,
to do that, but totally understand where you're coming from there. 12 months sometimes to some people does sound like a long time, but this is a moving beast and you need to identify and understand, what's going on where, and then
yeah,
things shift and change. So
yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
And
yeah,
it's really that culture shift piece, isn't it, that takes the
Mm.
time,
Yeah.
So we created, as Belinda said, a 12-month plan with the intent that, this is the beginning blocks. And then
Yeah.
we
mm,
continue to reassess. We do pulse surveys in the middle. We do another survey at the end. So we can really measure the different shifts occurring as
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Um,
aligns with that kind of annual
Mm.
employee engagement kind of survey that a lot of organizations might
mm,
be used to doing. We
Yeah.
can have a look at that and beef it up a little bit so that they're, really getting an understanding of where they're truly at with
Mm.
their psychosocials and how we can then kind of support that and see some shift in the next time round. Yeah.
mm.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an
So
exciting space. Very
it
exciting
is.
space.
It is. And why is this work important to you both?
Oh, look, I think both we've, as probably everybody has who's ever been in the workforce for any period of time,
Mm,
experienced at times in their career where it's been a fantastically engaged, supportive, wonderful workplace to be in, and other times where it has not. And so we all know, what that looks like, what that feels like, and what the impact is on your well-being.
Hmm.
And we're both quite passionate about that. I mean, Natalie's, background as a counseling psychologist, clearly that's incredibly important to her and her and her focus. And for me, it's always been about, what we spend so much time at work.
Yeah.
We just spend so much time at work. It has an incredible impact on who we are as humans and how well we are living our
Mm.
lives. And we really want to be able to sort of support organizations to enable and encourage their people to be
Hmm.
great because that's the main reason, so that people can be great. But then if we put a commercial hat on for those businesses,
Mm.
well, that actually makes sense because when you've got well, highly functioning people, because, they feel safe when they're
Yeah.
at work, they feel supported, they're engaged, they feel like they matter. Their well-being is discussed and supported,
Hmm.
they perform better. An organization performs better. We see that data time and time again. It's like there's no debate there anymore,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, that's it for me. I think I probably touched on it slightly for you, Natalie, but
yeah, look, I definitely agree with absolutely every word you said. And, who doesn't want to be high performing? Who
Yeah.
doesn't want to go to a job that
mm,
they feel like they are successfully achieving?
Hmm.
So these are just the key ingredients for well-being. Feeling
Mm.
productive, feeling like you're achieving, feeling like you're stretched and you're giving opportunities
Yeah.
to continue to grow
yeah,
and develop. When we're not growing and developing, we're actually quite stuck, and it can be extremely detrimental to our well-being.
Mm.
We're not necessarily designed to be stuck.
Yeah.
We are designed to continually be growing and developing. And it may be, there's certain research around that it's something like only 4% past our stretch mark, past our stretch sort of target,
Yeah.
but it still feels good. And I
Yeah.
think, when we do put the commercial hat on, high performing is all about being in flow. It's all
Mm.
about being in the off switch, not being on in our fight and flight, not feeling intimidated, not feeling stressed, not feeling overwhelmed because we're lacking resources and time, all those
Mm.
things
Yeah.
that create a really unhealthy way of framing our world.
Mm.
So I'm very passionate about it. I don't really like using that word because I think it's thrown around way too much. So I try not to use it, but I really am. And I
Yeah.
also sit on the other side of the fence where I mentioned I do a lot of work cover.
Hmm.
And, you could almost say 95% of those work cover claims comes down to being in an environment that hasn't been conducive to good overall mental well-being.
Yeah.
And so that can take a long time for people to get back from.
Yeah.
I can work with people for up to 2 years.
Yeah.
It's a long time in their life to have to come back from something.
Mm.
And they're still permanently always changed.
Yeah.
But we get them back to a functional, healthy way of living. But of course, it takes a long time to get them back. So I see both sides of the fence almost. So it's definitely not a nice to have anymore. This is imperative. We have to be doing this, just like we've done safety for years. Zero safety, we've heard it for years. This has to be similar. We have to have the same conviction and the same alignment to psychological safety as well.
Yeah, definitely. And what kind of organisations and leaders do you enjoy working most with?
Psychological safe ones, no. All of them. Do you know what? It's really interesting, and Belinda will definitely agree. We have been doing workshops with predominantly the health industry in Brisbane here, and every single time we do the same 2-hour, 2-day workshop, right, for their leaders. Every single time we get off those learning something new.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't believe anyone gets out of bed to do a bad job, right? It's the environment they go into that is either going to propel them or, you know, not necessarily make them stretch, put it that way, right? So all leaders of all shapes and sizes, colours, you know, like just bring them on, bring them all together, because I think if they're in the room, then even if they go away with a couple of things, it's like, you know, then hopefully that makes them a different leader and a better leader.
Yeah. My favorite ones to work with are the ones that are curious, you know, that are turning up, they're genuinely interested, they haven't got the walls up, they're not defensive, they actually really want to be there, and they want to they genuinely care about their people, right? You know, and they want to see what they can do to enhance those environments. But, you know, that's not always the case. Actually, what is actually often probably the more exciting clients to work with at times is the ones that didn't start like that. And then you see that switch, you see that light bulb, you know, you can tell the next time they walk into the room or they come onto a call with you, and it's changed, you know. And there's this spark, and there's suddenly, you know, we've gone from kind of like, no, we're fine, we don't really need this, I don't know why we're doing it, we're just doing it for compliance, and because someone said we should, you know, makes us feel like we're kind of doing the right thing, to suddenly kind of going, oh, there's so much I can learn here, and that's exciting because that means we can do better.
Yes.
Right. And that for me that's the really exciting people to be working with. But you don't know that till you get into it. So in terms of industry size, that kind of thing, we've worked across quite you know, through both of our careers, we've worked across kind of all of it at different times. The really big, the multinationals, the smaller ones, in the form of Illum, where we've come together with our partnership. You know, we're sort of continuing that journey, and there's you know, different sides of the organisations. But the moment we've got, you know, the state version of a national volunteer, very highly known volunteer organisation we do work with. We've got a leading research and science institute that we're working with. We've got another group of scientists. We've got schools. You know, we've got health care. You know, allied health. So it's quite broad. I think I've captured a bit of diversity there, Natalie, from the kind of...
Yeah, definitely. And I'm thinking, you know, some of the larger organisations, they will invest and have their own internal hubs, which is great. You know, they will still go out to external providers because we're the experts. But the medium businesses, the smaller businesses that don't have the capacity to have their own people internal will probably be where our ideal market, because they'll want to partner with us, and they'll want to partner with the experts that aren't just there to come in and do a workshop and see you later, there's my invoice.
Yeah.
It's like we become their trusted advisors.
Yeah.
And that is what, in my 25 years of working with people, that is the hat I like to put on. I like to put the trusted advisor hat on and be available for the longevity
Yeah.
of the business, to kind of be that external provider that can answer the questions or help them or build a program, do the educating and advising back to them. And I think we're both very similar in that approach.
Yeah. And I
So,
know that there's going to be people listening to this today thinking, I need this. So, what's the best way for the community and others to connect with you both and to learn more?
sure. Illume Partners, www.illume,
Yep.
ILLUME partners.au. We've got hello at Illum. Our numbers are on there.
Yep.
Anyone can touch base with us, and then
Yep.
we set up a time to go and have a chat. And then
Mhm.
we just start to understand more what some of their pain points are, what they're wanting to achieve.
Yeah.
And we just have those sorts of conversations in the first instance, and then kind of start to build something for them.
Mm.
Fantastic. And I will include all of those links and everything, not only in your directory profile, but in the notes in on YouTube as well, so people can access those easily. But just wanted to say how excited I am that you are part of the collective, and thank you for joining us. And I can't wait for what we can do together in the next 12 months and more.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Thanks, Nicole. We're
nice.
excited that the Institute exists and to be part of it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.